Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Big Thoughts. I am your host, Frederick Afrifa, aka F17, the Hood's Les Brown.
Yes, it's Tomi Adeg, public speaking coach, inspirational speaker.
Come on. Amazing. So you guys don't know much about Tomi. Today we are going to find out all about who Tomi Adeg is and why he is here. How you doing today, bro?
I'm doing amazing, man.
It's lovely to speak to you.
Yes. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank you. So I'm here really just to ask a few questions. And the first thing I want to ask you is, what was your introduction into the world of speaking?
It's a great place to start. I'd have to take you all the way back to year 6. So I was living in Nigeria at the time, and I remember my teacher saying to me, you should go for the role of head boy, you'll be really good. And I was downplaying it. But you know when someone sees something in you that you may not necessarily see in yourself? So I wasn't sure I wanted to be a prefect. I was like, look, I'll just play football and do all of that speech stuff. But I thought about it. I went home, spoke to my parents, and they said, yeah, go for it. So in order to become the head boy of primary school, at the time, I had to give a speech in front of the whole school. And it was daunting, but I eventually delivered a really good speech that I wrote myself. Unfortunately, I didn't get the role of head boy, but I got deputy head boy. But that was the first time I really thought about public speaking and put myself in that position to do so. Yeah.
On the head boy stuff, you said you went for head boy, you didn't get it, but you got deputy. Looking back on it, what did that teach you?
That taught me to be brave initially, to put myself in a position where I may not get what I want, but I took that risk because there was a chance that I could become head boy and I knew that I may not. I put myself in that position. So being brave, firstly, being courageous. 2 was resilience, because it was difficult coming up with a speech, also being interviewed by the head of school, head teacher, before doing the speech to the whole school. And then finding out that I didn't get the role taught me to bounce back from adversity. It taught me that in life you may not always win or get what you want, but you have to keep going. So it taught me that, yeah.
It's a big lesson to learn early on.
Yeah, it is.
Would you call yourself a confident person?
Yes, I would. In certain arenas, in others not so much, because confidence is, we speak about it, believe in greatness, is depending on what arena you're in, right? So I'm confident as a speaker, but not as a skateboarder. So it depends on what I'm being asked to do, but generally speaking, I'm quite confident in a lot of areas, but it depends. That makes sense.
I love that answer, that's really good. And I want to dive deeper on this because my thesis on confidence is that it's evidence. And you usually need 2 types of evidence. One is internal evidence, so proving to yourself that you can do this thing, building skills. Another is external evidence. So other people around you being able to do the thing, giving you the inspiration that you can do it. So let's start with the internal evidence. When you think about the things that you are most confident in, tell me about a time that you had to build some internal evidence to grow that confidence.
Yeah, so great question. I would say with public speaking, I had to build that because when I first started, I didn't have that much evidence. So I gave that speech in primary school, but for many years after that, I didn't continuously put myself in a position to speak. So it wasn't a skill that I was consistently honing and developing. So that meant in 2020, when I started speaking properly, like professionally, taking it serious, I didn't have loads of evidence, but with time, getting into schools in my local area, in Kent, and then also in London, I started building the evidence. So at the start, you walk in, you're speaking in front of however many year 11s, 100 or 200 year 11s, and the heart's beating, palms are sweaty, because it's like, I've done the primary schools, but I haven't done the secondary schools. But then with time, I showed myself and proved to myself that, okay, I've got the evidence that I can actually do this. So public speaking is the first thing that came to mind when you asked about that.
You said with time, if someone isn't confident in a field, what advice would you give them on the time piece? Because I feel like sometimes people are a bit impatient and they just assume that you can buy confidence. which is why people, controversially, I would say, which is why people will get cosmetic surgery. Because they think they can buy confidence. But what you find is that it doesn't always do the job. And that's not everyone. Yeah, don't attack me. Don't attack me.
Yeah,
but oftentimes. So what are your thoughts on that?
What you're touching on there is really deep. There's actually a book I've been reading recently, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. It's quite interesting because he did plastic surgery, but he noticed that there were some patients that when you worked on them, changed their nose, their face, they still weren't confident because internally they were battling insecurities and certain fears. So I would say that you need to embrace whatever it is you want to change until it improves. So you have to be willing to be an amateur and maybe not be so good initially in order to become better. Some people want to become great immediately, and that's the issue. They're setting themselves up for failure because they're like, I'm starting this today, I want to be great immediately. Like, it doesn't work like that. So you have to be able to see the bigger picture, right? Okay, I'm going to get better 1% daily, each and every day, putting in the work. So we're speaking, for example, okay, I might not be a Les Brown or a Tony Robbins right now, but with time, I may be on that level if I stay consistent. So I would just say to people that you don't have to be great to start, and you won't be great at the start, but with consistency, keep putting in the work day after day, you will become great eventually. So yeah.
You have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. But what if I'm scared? Like, you said I have to be average for some time. Like, people are gonna think I'm rubbish and it's scary. I'm too scared to make that first step.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's rate of development is different, right? Whether it's with sports, speaking, some people are gonna develop faster than others. But it's okay, just focus on your journey day by day. As long as you're better than who you were yesterday, that's the most important thing, honestly and truly. Yeah.
Comparison, so you're referring to comparison.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on comparison?
Comparison is very important in life. I think it's good to compare. People say comparison is a thief of joy, but it depends on the way you're comparing. If I say, oh, Fred is so much better than me, I'm never going to be able to do what he does and engage a crowd, I'm not good enough, I'm useless, that's a problem. Whereas if I say, Fred is amazing, how can I learn from him? I want to use the techniques that he uses. How can I incorporate that into what I do to become better and be the best version of myself? So comparison is very important and something that should be done. But the way in which you do it is whether it's going to make you or break you. You've got to look at that and think, is this helping me or not? So you've got to compare in a healthy manner.
And how do you change the way you compare yourself? So if currently I'm on my social media feed and I'm like, oh, this makes me feel so rubbish about myself. How do I shift that to, oh my gosh, I'm inspired?
It's difficult. It is difficult, right? Because it's an ugly process, I'll be honest. You have to look deep within yourself and think, why is it that when I look and compare myself to other people, I feel bad about myself? It is really difficult. Like, if the success of other people intimidates you or makes you feel bad about yourself, there's a lot of work to do. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to come here and tell you that you just need to be positive. Because yeah, cool, yeah, that is true. You do need to be positive, but you need to actually realize that, okay, I'm not them, they're not me. Nobody can be better at being me than me. So it's you versus you. So it's interesting because we live in a competitive world where we compare. So yeah, you do have to make comparisons, like I said, but you need to really look inwards and figure out why you feel badly about yourself, study yourself, and then start to make changes gradually and see yourself in a more positive light by taking action. Because if one is comparing themselves to other people, feels bad and doesn't do anything about their situation, that's when the envy and the feelings of jealousy and bitterness, resentment creep in. So there's a fine line between inspiration and envy, and I think it comes down to one, taking a better look at yourself rather than always looking at other people, and two, taking action. Because if someone's inspired today but doesn't take any action after comparing themselves, it's just going to become a vicious cycle again.
The people that annoy me the most are the people that will complain about their situation and do nothing about it. It's very annoying. Because even though I am a go-getter, I'm a hustler, I'm not saying everyone should do that. Like, I say this often. What I'm saying is, if you're not content with where you are, I also wasn't content with where I was. And I made these changes which have made me very content with where I am. So if you're not happy with where you are, do something about it. If you are happy with where you are, that's amazing. Make yourself out, and that's good. And what you should do is help people that aren't. In my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But I think what you said is very, very important. And also, I feel like, even in our space, we all need to understand that the world is grey. It's not black or white. So it's not compare yourself, don't compare yourself. Do this or don't do that. The truth is somewhere in the middle. It's all within reason. There's nuance to everything. It's all about understanding who you are. And one thing that I did is I unfollowed some people from my social media feed, and that helped me because there were some people that I compared myself to where it was a bit more healthy than others, and the people that weren't healthy, I just removed them from my feed. And it's something that you guys have. You have autonomy. You have power to control the algorithm or whatever. You have power to decide what you tune into.
Yeah.
Which is very important. Okay, but on the comparison now, we've spoken about internal evidence.
Yeah.
And how people can do that, and your journey with internal evidence, with speaking, you had to just do it to get better at it. Let's talk about the external evidence, seeing other people and helping, and that giving you confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your experience with external evidence and how that gave you confidence.
So, great question. I think for me, I must say the man sitting right here, Fred Afrifa, Hoodless Brown,
Yeah,
you know
wow.
what I mean, been a massive inspiration to me. And I'm not just saying that because you sit there, you know, off camera, we've had so many conversations. So, seeing someone like yourself who looks like me in the spaces that I wanted to be in was massively important. So, I saw you on Instagram, reached out, and guys, I must say, always reach out to people. You never know, they will respond and it could lead to something great. That's how Fred and I actually met through Instagram. I DM'd him and look at where we are today. But to go back to what you're saying, right, externally, seeing you in a space where you're inspiring kids in schools, secondary schools, university, colleges, and now all over the world, I was like, wow. So seeing you was really, really great for me because it made me realize, wow, if he can do it, I can too.
That's incredible because one, because that's the reason why I do it. Do you know what I mean? That's the reason why I document my journey, just to hopefully inspire someone. So it's very fulfilling to hear that. I'm achieving that. And also I think that's the importance of, I think external evidence is really important. In some settings, external evidence is heightened. So let's say you come from a well-off family. Your uncle's well off, your father's well off. You go to a private school where everyone's well off. The external evidence would suggest that you're going to do well as well. So even though you haven't achieved anything, that's why you find people in those scenarios that are very confident, because external evidence is high. And I think like within our community, we all need to work hard to create that external evidence for ourselves, because my external evidence had a few, but Hayley Melinda, one of them, you know about Hayley, yeah?
Yeah, I've seen her.
She's a G, she's been in the game 8 years longer than me. She's done incredible things and is doing incredible things. And for me, seeing Hayley, like, alright, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And it's about being selfless enough to do something scary. And I say that because me putting myself out there on social media at a point was scary. But it wasn't about being selfish, it was about being selfless and understanding that someone could see this and be inspired.
Yeah.
So that's something that's really helped me, but that's really interesting to hear.
Massive, yeah.
Okay, so where are you now in your journey?
So now on my journey, proud to say I'm officially a public speaking coach as part of Believe in Greatness. Joined the team officially in July, so that's where I'm currently at. Also, in addition to being a public speaking coach, also an inspirational speaker with Believe in Greatness and a couple of other organizations, agencies. So it's great. I'm at a place where I dropped out of university a couple years ago. So something you touched on there is like fear of perception and like people judging you, because this is not the conventional route. Most people, doctors, lawyers, accountants, and that's amazing. It's amazing. But I knew that wasn't the path for me. So I'm at a place where I'm really just putting my foot ahead of the other, day after day, to be myself and not be who others may want me to be or what my culture would expect or my background, but just being me authentically. So yeah.
Who do you want you to be?
Who do I want me to be? I want to be the person that a younger me needed. I want to be the best version of me, and I want to reach my full potential. That's really the massive drive for me, like using every single gift, talent and ability that I've been blessed with to be the best I can be.
Why is it?
I think when you answer that question, what comes to mind is there's a quote by Nelson Mandela. He says, "There's nothing to gain in settling for a life that's less than one you're capable of living." So for me, when I go through life and then look back when I'm on my deathbed or when I've come to the end of the road, I think I could have done more. That's really what drives me. If I know I can do something, I'm gonna go after it.
Have you always had this mindset?
Yes, but no, I would say partially I had it, but then it developed more recently around lockdown times. So I haven't always, but it was in there, but I wasn't really tapping into it, if that makes sense.
Of course, it makes sense. So what happened during lockdown?
Lockdown was a crazy time for all of us in so many ways. Obviously, it goes without saying, the pandemic was crazy, but for me personally, I found myself going through a deep level of introspection, looking inwards, studying myself, looking back at my life. Am I doing enough? Have I done enough? Looking back at certain achievements, looking at my mistakes. I had so much time to think. Usually life is so like fast paced for me, but I really sat down and looked inwards. And to be totally honest, I wasn't happy with where I was, and I knew I could do a lot more. So yeah, I really studied myself a lot more and started to think about how I could serve my community and people much more. So that was what started it. Definitely, like, getting to this place where I am now. Lockdown has to be mentioned because that was a game changer.
That's really interesting. So introspection. I know people that have told me they're scared to do that because they are not happy with where they are in life, and the last thing they want to do is think about it. What advice or thoughts would you give them?
As someone who once wasn't happy with where I was, I would say, if you're not happy, why stay there?
Wow.
So if you're going through hell, don't stay there. And it's scary because you're gonna shine light on a lot of things you've been avoiding. But that process, as ugly, as dark and daunting as it may seem, is so worthwhile because that's what you need to do to get out of it. So you have to weigh up, how much do you not like where you are versus how bad do you want to get to a better place? Because sometimes it comes down to it. I think people complain about where they are and don't want to be there, but sometimes they're comfortable in that place, which is weird, right? Because why would you be comfortable in a place that you hate? But it's the fear of the unknown and change. It's scary, but it's so worthwhile because I'm happy I've taken the steps I have.
With the fear of the unknown and change, what are things that you think people can do to expose themselves to it gradually?
Yeah, gradually, I would say don't try to make drastic changes too soon. Just bit by bit. So it comes down to each and every person's different situation and scenario. But I would say if you try to change too much too soon, it's, although I don't like the word realistic or unrealistic, it can be unrealistic. So I would say just take one step at a time, which is cliche. It can be cliche, but yeah, man.
One step at a time.
Yeah, just one step at a time.
Love that.
Yeah.
So you went through lockdown, you were introspective, you worked on yourself, go on Instagram, you see Frederick Afrifa, you reach out, then what happened next?
So it's crazy, right? I saw that you were working at one point in Sainsbury's as a delivery driver. I was doing similar work because I was working for Amazon. I was in a warehouse, but I would listen on my lunch break and sometimes throughout the day to inspirational speakers like Les Brown and Jim Rohn, and I found that my mindset was changing. So I was working in Amazon, I was putting out inspirational content on Instagram, DM'd you, and you responded with some really positive feedback. I told you about some of the things I was doing, because around that time I was working with children in primary schools between the age of 4 and 10, and I was doing speeches, letting them know that they should dream big and overcome their fears and whatnot. So I was doing those sessions, you reached out to you, gave me good feedback, and then from there I started working with another agency, the Fix Up team, which was great, and that was through you as well, obviously. So yeah, man, I literally just kept putting one foot ahead of the other, and more opportunities started coming my way. And then the impact grew from doing sessions with about 20 kids to then speaking at 6 forms in London in front of like 200 students. So I'm now proud to say that I've inspired over 2,000 students in the Kent and South East region in London as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a big feat. Was the journey any different to what you expected it to be? Or is the journey any different to what you expected it to be?
I mean, yeah, it's difficult, right? Because as a public speaker and speaking coach, the income you get is not guaranteed. So in my mind I was like, yeah, starting a speaker, like it's gonna be amazing, gonna get paid as well, but it's not so straightforward, and I've still had to work part-time jobs longer than I thought I would have to get to this point. So it's been very difficult, you know. So I would say in that sense, yeah, like it's a bit different. Things didn't work out as quickly as I thought they would. As much as opportunities were coming my way, it's still been very difficult. So yeah, that delayed gratification is important, and I've always kind of had that, but even at that it was still difficult because I've had to wait and be patient and keep putting in the work here.
I think that's important to share, man. It's important to share because it's not easy and everyone's timeline is different.
Yeah.
And anyone who is inspired by the work and wants to get involved with it, good, but just know it's not a click of the finger. And if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
If it was easy, everyone would do it. An interesting question is, what is your relationship with challenges? Like, do you like difficult things? Do you like challenges?
Yeah.
Is that something that you enjoy?
Yeah, man. For me, I see life sometimes like a mission, like a movie. It's funny, right? But it's like without the challenges and the tough times, how would I grow? And I say that, but there's certain times I go through difficult moments, and I'm like, why me? But then I realize this is happening for me. It's building my character. So I love a challenge. If things are easy, life would be boring. You know what I mean? So and what makes the story like more juicy and sweet and worth telling is when you've been through challenges, you come out on the other side stronger, and then you share that with people. So yeah, I love a challenge. Yeah.
I was gonna say the harder the battle, the better the story.
100%, man.
Which is pretty cool.
There's another one, the greater the test, the greater the testimony.
Jeez! I love that. Okay, so looking ahead, you've had some experience in the world of public speaking, worked with a few agencies, doing some work with Believe in Greatness. Where do you want to go?
Global, man.
Jeez!
Global, man. Yeah, man, all over the world, but honestly, you know, seeing you do your thing, Vegas loaded, man, it just makes you realize the possibilities that are out there, and the world is truly an oyster. So I'm currently mainly just working with schools in London, but I want to go to Manchester, Birmingham, Newcastle, France, Spain, Italy. You know,
Yeah.
I want to go all over. So I know it's start local, you know, you think global, start local and whatnot. So I'm doing what I can in my community initially, but with time just want to go all over the world and just inspire people to dream big and believe in greatness.
Jeez!
You know
No, absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. So then if you had a final message for the individual watching this, he, she, not necessarily happy with where they are right now, they know they have potential because you just know it. They haven't been able to tap into it. They've tried different things. They've tried Forex trading. They've tried drop shipping. They lost their money. Nah, let me not do that. If you're into that stuff,
Yeah,
it's up to you. Yeah,
fair enough. Each their own.
Yeah,
But yeah.
they've tried different things. It's not working. Like, what can I do? They're currently working the retail job that they don't love. They're at that part of the story, that chapter. I'd say that.
I'd say take a look back at your life and think about those things that people said to you. Oh, you're really good at that. Have you ever thought about this? Don't ignore those signs. I think everybody is gifted in some way, right? But people sometimes out of fear or doubt, they're not really tapping into what they know they should be doing. And then that's when you don't feel fulfilled and satisfied because you're not doing what you're meant to. So I think just look at your life and think, what am I good at? What's something that I know I could be doing, but I haven't really started yet? I would say, yeah, just take a look back at your life. Spend time with yourself. That's the most important relationship. Build that relationship with yourself and study your strengths and your weaknesses, you know. Because I know one thing I think about all the time is, like I said, if I come to the end of the road and I look back and I settled for less, that would be a nightmare. So just think to yourself, what's something I could be doing? What are those things I know I could be doing? Go for it, because life is for living. Honestly, just go for it, man. You're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna lose, you're gonna fail, but it's better to at least know that you gave it your shot so that you can leave with no regrets, no stones unturned.
I think that's a beautiful way to end it.
Yeah, man.
Thanks so much, bro.
Come on, man. Thanks for having me, bro. Come on, man.
It's been a Big Thoughts podcast with Frederick Afrifa, aka F17, the Hood to Les Brown.
Yes. And Tomi Adeg. It's been a pleasure, man.
See you guys next time. Remember to always believe in
Greatness.
Love that.
Come on, man.
Jeez. Yeah, man.
That's right, nice.
That was good.
Good stuff, man. It's a great start, man.
29. That's good.
Yeah, it's good, man.